Hey everybody, it's Ben in Beta, and it's time for an update video on the 2024 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road that we purchased this year. We have about 1,200 miles on the Tacoma so far, and overall it's been performing very well. We've also been on 2 overlanding trips, and it was pretty awesome for that as well. We were able to get all of our gear to our campsite. It was very comfortable. Again, 4 high and 4 low worked really well. I did use 4 low a little bit more often overlanding because we were laden down with quite a bit of weight. But it handled all the weight that we threw at it, which was also fantastic. And overall, I've only had a couple scrapes on rocks here and there. One little tiny one a little bit harder on the differential, I think, in the rear, and the other one, I'm not sure if it was the exhaust or if it was the trailing arm, but no damage to the vehicle whatsoever. So far, things have been great. We've been on a range of trails from very easy, according to Trails Off-Road, and a couple of moderate trails, according to Trails Off-Road as well. Again, it performed flawlessly. We're still getting around 17.8 miles per gallon, even with the tent on top of the vehicle, which is pretty fantastic. And on the road, we're getting pretty decent gas mileage, right around 20 miles per gallon, even with the tent, which I'm pretty happy with. If it's windy out, obviously it's a little bit worse, but even completely laden down with everything in the vehicle, I've come back with the same gas mileage that I left with, which I think is pretty fantastic. So what am I liking about the vehicle? Comfort is great. I still really like the stereo. We got to try out the JBL Flex speaker recently on our last overlanding trip, and it worked better than I thought. It actually sounded pretty good. So I was impressed with that, and the fact that I have a Bluetooth speaker with me without having to take one on my overlanding trips is nice because we do like to listen to music when we're sitting around the fire. In comparison, I have a Sonos Move speaker that we generally took with us before, and I think they both sound very good. So at least I won't need to pack the Sonos Move anymore and save, a pound and a half of weight or whatever it is, which is great. The fact that gas mileage hasn't really changed with the truck having the tent on it and even doing overlanding trips. I've been pretty impressed with that, honestly, overall. Ride quality has been great, especially if you keep the tires between like 32 and 34 PSI cold. It's not too rough, even with the AT4W tires. And yet I'm still getting, again, semi-decent gas mileage given the circumstances of the vehicle. So on to what still might be a struggle. There was supposed to be an infotainment software update from Toyota. I haven't gotten that yet. Once I get that, maybe that will cure some of the other issues I've had with the infotainment system. But wireless Android Auto still doesn't work very well. I mostly plug my phone in now. That works every time, and I don't really have any issues with that. But wireless Android Auto will drop songs, it won't connect, it'll reconnect. Still have some issues with that. I don't know if CarPlay is better or not, but right now I'm not using an iPhone, so that doesn't really matter for me. Again, it's a minor annoyance because I can just plug in my phone and it works just fine. And then to see my tire pressures, I still actually have to go into the system every time I want to see that. It doesn't display automatically like it should. That's something I will mention to the service techs when I take it in for service, because I have one other issue with the Tacoma. So recently, before our first overlanding trip, I was doing sort of practice planning on where I wanted to pack everything for our trip. And I also wanted to try out the battery system and see how much power we got from the different ports to see where I should plug in to get power. One thing I would just tell you, and this is something that should be expected by everybody, if you're going to power your power station from the AC port, that's not going to work, at least in the gas model. I suspect it'll work just fine in the hybrid, but it does not work with the AC output. It is what it is. I kind of expected it to be that way. It's unfortunate. I wish it did work, but my fridge does work just fine through that, so I can plug my fridge into it. And that all comes down to the fact that the gas models don't use a pure sine wave inverter. They're actually using a modified sine wave inverter, and that's why the power stations just won't charge for them. So I moved on to the DC port on the other side of the bed to test those out, and I was able to pull 10 watts from one of the USB-C ports and about 26 watts from another USB-C port. And then I was able to pull about 100 watts from the regular cigarette port, which is great. But as I was conducting my tests, it just sort of stopped working, which I'm guessing is going to be a blown fuse. So I went under the hood to check the fuses, but unfortunately I think the fuses for those DC ports is somewhere else in the truck. So I called the Toyota Service Center and asked them, and they said bring it in. They told me they weren't going to charge me for it. So I'm going to bring that in tomorrow, and hopefully they'll be able to fix it. Now, if it's a fuse, I want them to show me where the fuse is. I suspect it's under the rear seats, and I need to know what tools I'll need in order to replace that fuse myself, because I would just like to be able to do that on my own. But I do want to know where it is, and if there's a problem, they can take a look at it and fix it if there is an issue with the system in some way, shape, or form. While it's not catastrophic by any means, I was still able to go overlanding just fine. I just plugged the fridge into the AC port, and then I used my battery system once I got to camp, and it worked just fine. Just keep in mind, if you do want to use the AC ports in the vehicle, you do have to actually press the button every time you start the truck in order for that to work. But I did that and my fridge stayed cold, so no problems there. So that's the biggest issue I've had with my truck so far. It is going in for service for that. Again, not a major issue, and they told me they're not going to charge me for it. I'll let you know if they do in an update video to figure out, what was fixed and whatnot. I'm also going to let them know about the other software issues so they can pass that on to their dev teams. I don't know if they will or not, but I'm going to let them know about them. But yeah, other than that, I haven't had any issues with the Tacoma so far. It's been pretty flawless, and Misty likes it very much as well. The heated seats, the cooled seats, all that kind of stuff works just fine. I have not gotten a chance to really play with the multi-terrain select yet. We haven't done any of the modes, and I haven't used crawl control either. I did lock the diffs once, and they locked with no problem whatsoever. And my differentials haven't blown up like TFL's, so far so good, even laden down. But we have a ton more trips planned in the Tacoma this summer, and I'll definitely be telling you more about those. In this last trip with Misty, I didn't take a lot of video. We just enjoyed our trip, and it was nice. But in the future, I will take more video of these trips and kind of talk more about how they went, and talk about how the vehicle and all of our gear is performing, as well as just the trip itself. But if you have any questions about the Tacoma, or any questions about anything I talked about in this video, please drop those in the comments. I'd be happy to answer those. And then if you happen to hit any of those affiliate links, those do benefit my channel. I just need to let you know that. And I appreciate that if you do use them. But if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine too. If you like the video because you find it helpful, that'd be fantastic. If you want to share this out with somebody you think would find this interesting, that'd be great too. Or if you haven't, subscribe to the channel, and that would be great too. Once I get this back from service, I'll do another video just to detail what they told me and what happened and how they fixed it. But that's pretty much it for now. So thank you so much for watching. Remember, live your life in beta, and we'll see you next time.